This podcast is sponsored by TGO Magazine.
Hello and welcome to the very first TGO show of 2007. This year is the centenary of the birth of Alfred Wainwright, that doyen of Lake District fell walkers. Wainwright's pictorial guides to the Lakeland Fells have been described as works of art and are probably the most distinctive and original hill walking guidebooks ever published. Now, during the 80s and the 90s, Wainwright was the rather unlikely star of a number of television programmes about his life and work. Richard Ells was the producer of those programmes, and I asked him what his abiding memory was of this old fellow who was affectionately known as A.W.
I suppose in a funny way it's the very first time I met him, and we're going back now almost a quarter of a century to 1982. And I'd actually written to Wainwright, and I kind of felt the only possible way of getting him onto television was by writing him a letter telling him that I didn't expect him to appear, but would he mind if we made a programme anyway, and he said fine. And I spent ages tracking down the 4 or 5 people who knew him, and during the course of actually that week of filming, I had a message from Percy Duff, who was his successor as the treasurer at Kendal Borough Council, saying, A.W.'s spoken, you better come and meet him. And we went to the house, and I was, really in fear and trepidation. We had a camera crew with me, and he just looked up at me, this huge man. He was losing his eyesight, but he could still see at that point. And he looked at me and he said, young man, you've got a scoop. And we all burst into laughter. We got on very well when he knew that I was keen on walking and knew the Lake District. But we filmed him in his garden outside his house. And what amazed me was his sense of humour, because we set the camera up and he turned to the cameraman, who was one of the best cameramen in Britain, and he said, youth, I want you to make it like one of those westerns. Come down from the smoke on top of my house to find me there. And that was how we did the interview with him.
Did he show any trepidation about appearing on television?
I think the answer is yes and no. Yes, he was very shy. He'd reached a certain point of his life. He was very happy with his wife, Betty. And I kind of think that knowing I was making a film, knowing that the few people that knew him well were going to speak, he couldn't resist having a word there. But he was always very, very difficult to work with, and I mean that in the nicest sense. I'll give you one example. We wanted to take him to Cape Wrath on the very northern tip of Scotland because he'd never ever been there. But it was early in the year. We got the local community to test the bus for its certificate of roadworthiness early. We got it specially moved over on pontoons to the other side opposite Durness. We took him across on the ferry that was specially open for him. The bus ran specially for him. We got to this point where he'd always wanted to go, and Eric Robson said to him, A.W., I bet you're pleased to be here. Silence. I'm glad I've seen it. And Eric said later, he said, much as I loved A.W., I could have pushed him off the cliffs at that moment. So he was very shy in many ways, but he had his moments. Sometimes you could just find something and he'd chat away for 20 or 30 minutes.
The word that's often used to describe him was curmudgeonly. Did you experience that side of him?
Yeah, we could do. He could be really, really awkward, and he could be great fun. I remember one day he said, Richard, I think we'll stop for lunch. And I said, well, I'd just like to ask you one more question. I told Eric Robson what we wanted to do. And Eric asked a question, and A.W. gave an answer that he knew quite deliberately we could never broadcast. And he looked up at me and said, so it's lunch then. But he could be very funny. I mean, I remember one day we went into a restaurant, and the menu was in fancy writing, and he got Eric to read it. And Eric says, it's goujons of plaice with French fries. And Wainwright said, what's that? And Eric said, well, it's fish and chips, really. And Eric, A.W. said, so why don't they call it that?
I've heard a rumour that he loved little chefs.
Oh, yes. I mean, I found eating with him amazing. We always had to go to the little chef. We always had to have the full works, including the gooseberry pancake. And when they took the gooseberry pancake off the menu, that was mayhem. But I mean, he looked at me at the little chef and he said, Richard, how do they get the food here? You never see it arrive. And I took him to London for his first visit in 1983, and we went down first class on the train with him with his pensioner's pass, and on the way back I said, well, AW, we're in first class, we can have the BBC are paying, we can have a fantastic meal in the restaurant car. No, Richard, let's wait till we get home and we can have some fish and chips.
What was his reaction to seeing himself on television?
He didn't like it if it clashed with Coronation Street, but I think he was genuinely flattered, mainly because people told him that they really liked the programme, and they got an astonishing audience. The other thing the BBC do is they measure what's called an appreciation index, which says out of people who watch the programme, how much do they like it? And the figures for the Wainwright programmes were some of the very highest ever recorded. And I mean, I think he was pleased in a way, because he knew, I think he was a natural, because TV's full of people who chat away and say absolutely nothing. So almost he was like the anti-hero. He said very little, and that became a cult following. So I think he was pleased with that. And the other thing that's not generally known is that when he died, he had 17 obituary programmes. And I'll tell you why. We broadcast one programme as an obituary, and it got such a big audience that the controller of BBC Two said, let's repeat the whole lot. So I think he would have been quite pleased to know that he had more obituary programmes than probably anybody else.
In your time working with him, you obviously got to know him quite well. How do you think he would react now at the thought of people celebrating the centenary of his birth?
Oh, I think he'd be quite difficult about that. I mean, he was genuinely modest. The idea that there might be a Wainwright Tarn, or there might be a celebration, or a Wainwright walk, I think for him that really wasn't what motivated him. And I think if you look at the books, I think it was the work that really interested him. Until he met his second wife Betty, he had a very unhappy life, and I think he found absolute solace by every evening eating his meal, putting tea to one side, and sitting down and working. So I think in many ways he was quite diffident about that. If he got something out of it, like the TV took him to places he wouldn't have got to again, particularly when we got permission to go off-road and right into some of the hills, and the same with Derry Brabs's books. But I think he was always a bit ambivalent.
Do you think you might have felt better about it knowing that the big celebration was going to take place in Aywood Park, home of Blackburn Rovers?
Oh, I think that would delight him enormously. In fact, was some of the very last filming we did, just a week before he took it ill for the final time. We walked onto the hallowed turf at Blackburn Rovers, and that was fantastic. And that was one of the most articulate days we had with him. We went to see the house he was born and brought up in. We went to the Rovers. He was just ecstatic. And again, it was because he didn't think he'd ever see that again. And I mean, he enjoyed being with Eric Robson, because there were two of a sort, you know. They'd sit there in the car, the windows wound up, the rain outside, smoking cigarettes and pipes, and within 20 minutes you couldn't see inside the vehicle. So I mean, he got on very well with Eric. And I mean, Eric shares his delight as well for greasy food.
Two old curmudgeons together.
Absolutely, you bet.
Richard Else there. And Eric Robson was, of course, the presenter of those Wainwright television shows. Eric and A.W. became great friends, and today Eric Robson is chairman of the Wainwright Society, an organisation that was set up about 4 years ago to keep alive those elements that A.W. promoted through his guidebooks, and the many other publications which were the sort of labour of love of a large portion of his life. The Wainwright Society will be organising a number of commemorative events in the course of this year, and they'll be lobbying the powers that be to have Wainwright's Coast to Coast walk given national trail status. The Coast to Coast is 190 miles long and is without any doubt one of the most popular long distance walks in the country. Well, I met up with John Burland and Peter Linney of the Wainwright Society, and I asked them to describe the Coast to Coast route for me.
Okay, yeah, the Coast to Coast starts on the west coast of England at St Bees Head and travels through 3 national parks and ends at Robin Hood's Bay on the east coast in Yorkshire.
obviously lots of great attractions on the route going over the Lake District, North York Muirs. What are your own personal favourites, Peter?
Well, I would have said probably the favourite area is through the Lake District. The Yorkshire Dales section is very attractive too, and I really quite like that.
What about you, John?
Yes, again, particularly I'm well into history, and the section over places like High Street and so on, with the Roman connection and being called Racecourse Hill, where the farmers and shepherds used to meet a couple of centuries ago and sell the sheep, brings back a lot of history on there, and Wainwright's got to be applauded for taking us through some fine scenery in those areas as well.
Do you think old A.W. himself would have approved of his coast-to-coast walk getting official status?
It's difficult, having sort of met the guy. It was very anti-establishment, to put it mildly. But in his introduction to the walk, he said, this is a blueprint for others to follow, not necessarily step by step along the route that he devised, but, devise your own routes and so on. And I think that's something that we're looking at, to make some minor changes and get rid of some of the tedious road walking sections as part of the campaign that we're doing, so that it does make it a more attractive route. I think he would have had mixed views, as far as making it an actual official route. But I mean, so many people have walked it, and the fact it's been recognised as the second best long distance trail in the world, something has got to be done. I mean, in comparison with the Pennine Way, for example, it's like Wainwright said, one is a male, one is a female, and the coast to coast is the female and the far more attractive of the two routes.
Peter, what do you think are the main advantages of seeing this trail as an official trail?
If national trail status brings with it, or should bring with it, investment in footpaths, signing. Clearly the route doesn't need is advertising, because it's already 40,000 people a year, or huge numbers anyway in the year, walk the route, and its popularity is known. But the thing, the route actually increasingly need repairs to the footpaths. It needs better signing, and I think that's one of the things it brings with it.
Do you not think by giving it official status you'll simply attract more people, exacerbating the problems that are there already?
Well, I don't think there's any doubt that the minute you start talking about something, more is done. We did the Great Lakeland Challenge in 2005, and the result of that was that a lot more people started climbing fells in the Lake District over that period and probably since. So yes, I'm afraid that does happen. But nevertheless, it is a very important piece of long-distance route for this country, which is not known for great distances, and it's such a high quality for most of the route that it has to be given some support.
I think as well on that, Cameron, trails themselves have reduced in numbers actually walking on them. I know when I was 30 years younger and at school, we talked incessantly about, are we going to do the Pennine Way this year, or what are we going to walk, and did things like the Cleveland Way. I devised my own route called the Six Dales Hike, which is based on a scouting competition route of 42 miles across North Yorkshire, and obviously 20, 30 years ago, more people went out. We've seen on the news recently, about children these days being obese, and if our campaign does nothing else and gets those out on the fells and on the footpaths, it will certainly have been worthwhile.
Now, how widely have you consulted on this? Is there any sort of consensus amongst the people in the towns and villages along the way, for example?
We haven't consulted at all at this point, but there's going to be a high-profile campaign where we'll be in touch with all the representatives of government, representatives of Parliament, and the local authorities will be contacted. and there will be considerable amount of consultation takes place along there. There will be, of course, there is one of the benefits of national trail status is that it often results in regeneration of businesses along the route, and bed and breakfast, cafes, pubs, and that sort of thing along the route can only benefit from a better, higher profile for the route and more knowledge by more people.
Realistically speaking, what sort of reception do you think you're likely to get from Natural England?
It's difficult to say because, as we all know, government is cutting back on resources and finance for items like this. But I think, the popularity and, as we said earlier, the fact, it is recognised not just nationally within the UK but also internationally as an outstanding route. Hopefully, we should get a good response from the Minister and from Natural England as well. As far as our campaign to upgrade is concerned.
The fact that Natural England may be strapped for cash, and we know that they are, and we know that other government departments are too, is not a reason for saying that we shouldn't do this. We actually should be pressing for this, and even if it gets onto the list, as a modest objective, we feel that we've made some progress in this.
Now, not only is this campaign for the Coast to Coast Become a National Trail just getting started, but 2007 is a pretty busy year for the Wainwright Society, isn't it?
Certainly is. 2007 is the centenary of Wainwright's birth, born 17th of January 1907 in Blackburn, and we have a number of celebrations taking place in the centenary year, the first being the anniversary service on the Sunday immediately after the centenary, which is Sunday the 20th, a service in Blackburn Cathedral at 2 p.m, but also on the 17th, which is the actual day of the centenary, the bell ringers at Blackburn Cathedral are doing a special bell ringing session incorporating a new peal that they have devised, which I think is called the
Royal Haystacks Delight.
So obviously,
obviously
at the beginning of the year we've got that. We're then going to be involved with the Keswick Mountain Festival, and we're doing an event there called Everest the Easy Way, and asking people to ascend Skiddaw, which is 3,000 feet and a tenth the size of Everest. So for every 10 members that ascend Skiddaw, we're classing that as one ascent of Everest, and hopefully that will raise money for the mountain rescue team in Keswick.
How can people get involved with the Coast to Coast campaign? Obviously, people can become a member of the Wainwright Society, but people at large, if we put out on this podcast and something in TGO magazine, other ways people can help you in your campaign.
Well, the Wainwright website, which is www.wainwright.org.uk, already contains a page on the Coast to Coast with the opportunity to join, write their name into a petition, which we're gathering numbers on. And we'd be glad to do that. Membership of the Society, of course, will help. We're going to run a special campaign this year where we've divided the route up into 38 sections, and they're going to be walked by teams, and reports will be brought back on the conditions and the alternatives that may be necessary to the road walking sections, and that will be possibly published in the form of a book later in the autumn.
So you'll be looking for volunteers to get out there and actually walk the route and just check on Wainwright's original guide.
We are doing, yes. We're looking for 38 team leaders initially to then get together their teams. Obviously, we would want those team leaders to be members of the society, and we feel that we have enough people in the society at the moment to take on those roles of team leaders, but obviously anybody can then join those team leaders, because everybody in the party will have a role to play, because we're looking for people to take photographs along those sections, people to test out the beer in the pubs, so I'm sure that will attract a few people, but each of the sections will be walked in both directions, so we're looking at a 10-mile walk or thereabouts, that they will do the section in one direction and then return back coming the other way, because obviously not everybody walks the route from west to east. Some people do it the other way around and start at the east coast and walk to the west, and a number of people have said that is the better way to do it, because you end up in the Lake District as opposed to ending up on the east coast. But as a Yorkshireman, I would say Wainwright got it right, you know, that you end up with the beer and fish and chips at Robin Hood's Bay.
Well, it sounds like an immense project, and I wish you the best of luck. But just before we finish, it's been 4 years, I think, since the Wainwright Society started. How has it gone in that time? Are you pleased with the progress?
Well, it's quite incredible. There were 100 people met at Ambleside Youth Hostel and decided that we would have a Wainwright Society. We'd no idea how many members would happen. The Great Lakeland Challenge, which took place in May 2005, resulted in the membership rising to over 600. It fell down again, of course, at the end of the year, as it does each year. But it's now back up to 560, and we've absolutely no doubts at all that. And the membership, of course, is for a family, and therefore many of the families have 2 or more people. So we've upwards of 1,000 people actually involved in this society, which is only 4 years old.
Yeah, it's really good going. But I'm just looking out the window just now with the rain pouring down on the Langdale Fells here, and I have this sort of image in my mind of this iconoclast in his raincoat and bonnet wandering over the fells and just thinking to myself, my God, what have I started? How do you think AW would react to the thought of a society in his name with so many members?
I think, having spoken to Betty, his widow, she has said, you know, the way we have gone ahead with the society and the way we try and promote fell walking and so on, she feels that he would have been proud of that. Whether anything in an organisational form was ever his idea, but obviously, you know, we felt that there was a need. There was a body of like-minded people who loved the Lake District Fells and the other walks that he devised in the Howgills, in particular, those sleeping elephants, I think as he calls them, and also things like the Pennine Way and the Coast to Coast and other areas that he covered with his sketchbooks. You know, he was a remarkable man when you look at particularly the pictorial guides, you know, all of which were handwritten in an inimitable style that, you know, once you learn how to use those, you know, I've never got lost on the Lakeland Fells, put it that way, and I'm sure that, you know, many others have followed that example of what he did there. As I say, I hope that he's looking down from haystacks on us and feeling proud at what we're doing with the society. You know, our intention is, you know, to promote walking within the Lake District and other areas, and you know, I'm sure that's what he would have wanted us to do.
Well, it's fantastic that his name is being remembered in this way. Peter, just to finish off, do you think A.W. would have joined the society himself?
If we'd reformed the society in his lifetime, we'd have never got him to a meeting. He used to hide behind rocks for a pee. No, I don't think he would have been a member. I don't think he would have attended the meetings, but I think he might quietly have been quite proud of the fact that we're doing, as John says, we're doing actually many of the things that he would have wanted.
And I'm sure he would. That was Peter Linney and John Burlin of the Wainwright Society, and you can find out more about the society by checking out the website at www.wainwright.org.uk. That's www.wainwright.org.uk. OK, well, it's competition time again, and last month I asked you to identify where I was. Let's hear it again. I'm standing high above what is reckoned to be Scotland's longest glen, and away to the north-east of me there lies a great whale-backed peak that is known as the Fairy Hill of the Caledonians. Now, curiously, the cairn that I'm standing beside isn't so much made from rocks and stones, but dozens of old metal fence posts. Where am I? Did you get it? Well, a few of you did. The Munro I was standing on was Maelgarve in the Carnmere group above Glenline. And the winner, the first drawn out of the hat, was in fact John Ford of Amersham in Bucks. So well done, John. You'll be getting a free subscription, a year subscription to TGO magazine. Now, from time to time, some people tell us they have some difficulties in finding TGO in the newsagents. Now, if that's the case, I'd urge you to take out a subscription. It saves an awful lot of hassle, and you'll get your magazine popping through your letterbox every month. You can even take out a digital version of the magazine, and we'll send it every month direct to the inbox of your computer. You can't get better service than that. Check out the rates on our website at www.tgomagazine.co.uk. OK, let's see if you can identify where I am in this month's competition. And here's your clue of the week. I'm not on a scour or a stack or a ben. I'm standing on a fell. I'm on the summit of a hill in the Borders, a hill that has associations with King Arthur's wizard Merlin. It was once said that Merlin had the ability to transform himself into a small deer. Now, a short distance to the north of here lies the rather intriguingly named Crown of Scotland. And not very far from here, a footpath drops down into an ancient glacial gouge that for generations has been known as the Devil's Beef Tub. Where am I? OK, answers please to Where Am I, all one word, at tgomagazine.co.uk. That's Where Am I, at tgomagazine.co.uk. Well, that's about it for this month, I'm afraid. A very happy and prosperous new year to all our readers and listeners, and I hope we can get together again next month for another TGO show. Bye for now.